my good friend Dennis Condrey would say, as I stand here, right now, I don't give a fuck, so I will.
What was your take on that angle? It seemed as though that angle got a lot of curiosity and feedback from people on the internet and throughout the wrestling business.
Well, of course I didn't watch Raw, but when everything was, written about it, that it was so great and everything, and the video was posted on the internet, I did watch that segment. And except, of course, for the obvious, lack of logic of if it was a shoot, why didn't anybody come out of the locker room and say, Cena, boy, he must be popular. If you can overlook that, I thought it was well done. I thought it was different. It was a whole lot more credible than most of the horse shit that they do these days, which is why people liked it. They'd love to see more credibility. But, at the same time, you just can't choke somebody with a tie now, Tommy. Now, you can run them over with a car. You can blow them up. You can set fire to them. You can throw them off the top of a building or off a high precipice. But I've said it a million times, don't choke with the tie. As a matter of fact, this year, instead of contributing to the WHAS Crusade for Children, as I do every year, I contributed to Americans Against Necktie Violence.
Jimmy, I don't want to
take a much more pressing issue. It's a much more important topic. We've got to stop this necktie violence that's pervading America. I mean, these street gangs. The street gangs named the Windsors and the Cravats.
Yeah.
That are just laying waste to people all across America. They're finding people laying on the side of the roads and ditches with neckties. Not even silk neckties, just the cheap polyester stuff tied around their necks. We've got to put a stop to this. I think that's another thing the Republicans ought to work on when they're trying to stop everything else, including progress, is stop this goddamn necktie violence.
Hey, listen, Jimmy, I know you're on the road now. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but one last thing I want to ask you that actually a lot of the listeners wanted to know this week in its commentary. I'm sure you heard about it earlier last week. TNA's promising this huge change, and things are going to change, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we've heard that before, but Tommy Dreamer appeared at the pay-per-view this Sunday, so that's not the change, but this big change is coming, and the people want to know your thoughts on that. I'm sure you heard about it.
Well, and of course, people are speculating, Paul Heyman. Now, let me just say this right here, right now. Paul Heyman could eat at Taco Bell and 30 minutes later squat down in the middle of the road and shit a better television show than Vince Russo could write if he worked from now to the rest of his days on just one. That's not the issue. The issue is I think my old friend Happy Heyman is a little too smart to get into that band of cutthroats and backstabbers and liars like Terry Taylor and Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan, all of whom are hoping that the other fails so that they look good, all of whom are setting the others up so that they fail, so that they look good. It's a political minefield. Paul Heyman, I think, is too smart. Number one, TNA would never give anyone the power of an actual real booker. One guy that determines who's hired and who's fired and how they're used and how much they get paid and everything to do with the performance and the talent aspect of professional wrestling. That job doesn't exist in TNA. That's why they're in the shit shape that they're in. And that's, to me, the only way that Paul would take that job. Then he might be able to do something with it. Then, of course, you got to figure in the incompetence of most of the people in the front office of TNA that don't have wrestling backgrounds, because, believe me, I sat there and looked at that for several years. And I think maybe it would take Merlin the Magician to turn it around, but I don't think Heyman's the surprise. I think what it is, Dixie Carter has a PR background, has a public relations background. I don't mean she's from Puerto Rico. She has a PR background, and one of the first things they teach you in public relations is when you're stuck between a twat and a hard place, when you just don't know what the fuck you're doing and you don't have any prospects for doing anything different, because as my old friend Dutch Mantel always used to say, if you always do what you always did, then you always get what you always got. I think that Dixie is just saying, there's going to be a big change, a big surprise. It's going to change the face of TNA for like the 17th time in the last 6 months. And over the next couple of months, by the time that anybody finds out that there wasn't any real big surprise, that it was some letdown, then she can move on to something else because maybe she'll have else out. So in answer to your question, I don't think that there is any big surprise. I think it's just something that Dixie thinks is big, and it's going to turn out to be another popcorn part for the loyal wrestling fan.
Did you say a twat in a hard place?
between a twat and a hard place.
Oh, man. Jamesy, I'll let you get back on the road. I know that you're traveling with your wife right now up to Buffalo, then obviously to Toronto for the big internet pay-per-view this weekend. And I just want to wish you all the best. Hopefully you guys have a very successful turnout both nights. And I guess go to ROHWrestling.com for more information on that. And GoFightLive.tv. And also, as always, make sure you visit JimCornette.com. Anything new going on over there?
Oh, well, as a matter of fact, I've got some big surprises. It's going to change the face of JimCornette.com forever. I can't tell you right now, but it'll be happening in the coming weeks.
I take it Scott Hall won't be on your website anytime soon.
Scott Hall will not be on the website. No, that's pretty sad. Actually, not unless